What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 7 of the Tinted Visors podcast. He's Kenny, I'm Caden, and today we will be diving into some recent news. We're going to be taking a closer look at Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, kind of how they got to Detroit. We're going to be ranking 2008 defensemen, and then we will be continuing our segment on the 2026 Olympic roster predictions. That being said, let's get right into it.
I got thousand gunmen turning up, but they will gun you down.
So as always, before we get going, we're going to do card of the day. I'll hit it off with my Steven Stamkos Young Guns. I actually have two of these cards. Really nice design. Really nice card. Obviously my favorite player, so I had to pick that up when I first got into card collecting. It's not going to go anywhere, that's for sure. And, he's entering the last season of his contract. Obviously that's big headline going into the season. I hope he gets paid. I hope he sticks around in Tampa. I hope he retires as a Bolt. He's really earned it. And, just a great player, great card.
No, absolutely. Definitely one of the most decorated Bolts in recent history. So my card of the day here, going on a little bit of the lower end here, but we have an Elias Pettersson clear cut. He's also wearing the All-Star jersey. Super nice card. Picked it up for cheap, and obviously as a Canucks fan, the clear cuts are very cool, so a little bit rare too, and not very expensive, so very cool card.
So hey guys, before we get into the segments, we don't typically touch upon news in the NHL, but we did feel like we needed to address, this sort of story that came out recently with Shane Pinto being suspended for 41 games by the NHL after he was found out to be sports gambling. Obviously, we don't know all the details. I doubt that we ever will find out all the details, but you got to think it's got to be something severe. Maybe betting on it must be hockey. It must be maybe some players or something in order to be that hefty of a suspension. But it's interesting to see the hypocrisy in all of this. With the NHL constantly advertising for these sports gambling sites. Having McDavid, having Matthews, being the spokesperson for these accounts. And yet, when one of the players gets caught, they're going to hand out a suspension this big. Obviously, I don't condone, anything that he did. Obviously, it can very easily become a problem within people. So obviously, I hope he can get the help that he needs. But it is just it's a weird thing to see the NHL so adamant about sports gambling, and then being so strict when their players get caught.
No, absolutely, and you can kind of see why they would be extremely harsh with these punishments when they're caught, with the concern of fixing games or throwing games if these players were to bet on either the teams they're playing or teams their friends are playing, stuff like that. And this also does offer a bit of clarity maybe on why Shane Pinto hasn't been signed and why he was holding out. Maybe this was an issue that has gone a bit further back than we realize.
Yeah, moving on. Obviously we talked about the Red Wings and the predictions, as well as last week we just sort of dove into how well DeBrincat's doing over there. We kind of wanted to go into into depth of how both DeBrincat and Larkin sort of got there into this stage of their careers. And with DeBrincat, personally I thought he had a real good chance of sticking around Ottawa. I think the culture that they built in Ottawa, it's tough to see, or it's uncommon to see a lot of Americans committing long term in Canadian teams, Canadian markets. But Ottawa built a really big culture with American players, right? You got Josh Norris locked up, you got Jake Sanderson locked up, Brady Tkachuk locked up. We'll see what happens to Shane Pinto, but I assume he would most likely stay around. I did think I had a very strong feeling that DeBrincat would stick around. Obviously he wasn't their number one guy. I think he does want to be the number one guy on a team, and so I think that was a main factor. But I thought if there was any Canadian team who could convince an American-born player to stick around long term, I thought it was going to be Ottawa.
No, absolutely. And spirits were high in Ottawa after acquiring DeBrincat in the summer of 2022. They did give up the 7th overall pick, which turned out to be Kevin Korchinski, to the Blackhawks. But Pierre Dorion, everyone thought it was a Pierre Dorion masterclass. They paired that with the Giroux signing, and it was the summer of Pierre. And it's kind of insane to see how flat DeBrincat fell in Ottawa and kind of forced their hand into trading him to Detroit, his favorite location. And it's crazy to see him popping off now. He did play with a playmaker in Patrick Kane in Chicago, one of the greatest players of our decade. And he gets to play with Larkin. Downgrade for sure, but he's showing that he can be that guy, and he's putting the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate to see what the Senators gave up for him opposed to what they kind of got for him. And it does have a lot to do with what you said, him forcing their hand. But, on the other side, looking at the second part of this dynamic duo they got in Detroit, it's Dylan Larkin. an interesting thing early in his career. He was actually drafted by the Otters in the 10th round of the 2012 draft, and if he had gone there, he would have played with guys like McDavid. He would have played with guys like Taylor Radish, Dylan Strome. Would have been, they would have made just like such an overpowered team. And what's interesting is that he actually could have played with DeBrincat around 2014, 2015 when they were both with the organization. Obviously he did go to Michigan, and I think it would have been interesting to see if maybe a Canadian team had drafted him, maybe he would have gone to the CHL opposed to Detroit drafting him and him then going to a college in Detroit. And then early on his career, he was basically the Detroit's like top prospect for a lot of years while they were sort of in mediocrity. Obviously continuing that playoff streak while basically going out in the first round every single year while they were sort of shedding off Kenny Holland's bad contracts. And even recently people were sort of unsure if they wanted to commit to a guy like Larkin long term, especially with all the young guys they have coming up. But they ended up giving him an 8-year deal. He's obviously got the captaincy, and as of right now, it's looking like a really good situation. A really good, it worked out really well.
So yeah, it's crazy to think that he was in the rumor mill about a year ago. Last season, there were rumors around him if he was going to get traded. Him and Horvat were the two captains kind of in the rumor mill if they would be traded from their teams, and ultimately only Horvat got traded in the end, and the Wings decided to give Larkin this 8-year extension. And it's paying off so far. Him and DeBrincat are clicking, and they're off to a blistering pace, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of pace they can keep throughout an 82-game season. So yeah, just moving on, we're going to be ranking the top 5 defensemen from the 2008 NHL draft class. Pretty deep class for D-men. So that being said, coming in at number 5, we have John Carlson of the Washington Capitals. Was drafted 27th overall, and he did score the game winner in the World Juniors to win gold for USA. And he also has a Stanley Cup to his name. Very solid D-man, scores a lot of goals for a D-man. 15, I think he scored 20 one year. But yeah, he's coming in at number 5.
Yeah, really steady defenseman, especially in Washington. He's been their number one guy for a long time. Coming in at number 4, we do have a guy who was in the second round, 38th overall, was Roman Josi. Obviously he's got that one Norris to his name. He's got a 96-point season as well. Personally, I do think he was robbed in that Norris in that year when Cale Makar ended up winning. But he's been a leader there for a long time. He's learned from guys like Shea Weber, guys like Ryan Suter. So obviously he's gonna have a great development there. And he's been to a couple of deep runs, and I think if they had won those cups, I think he would be higher on this list. But right now we got him at 4. Very good defenseman, has been for a while. Will continue to be the number 1 guy for a long time.
Yeah. So coming in at number 3, we have the guy who was drafted 4th overall, Alex Pietrangelo. Obviously captained that Blues team in 2019 to the Cup. He's a very solid defenseman, and he has been for years. He is kind of coming up on the tail end of his career, but he is continuing to produce, and he's still very solid. Obviously also won the Cups with the Cup with the Golden Knights last year. Just a very solid D-man. We have him at 3.
Going on at number 2, we have the highest picked defenseman of this draft. Almost highest player. Coming in at number 1 was Steven Stamkos, obviously, that year. But we have Drew Doughty at number 2 overall. Obviously he has a very successful career. He's got 1 Norris. He's got 2 Cups. And obviously, with sort of the contract, people would probably place him under, sort of an overpaid kind of status. But he continues to produce. He's sort of had the resurgence in his career. A couple of years ago, people were kind of thinking that he fell off, but he's come back. He's the number 1 guy in LA, and hopefully they can make another run soon. Maybe so he can sort of add to that resume that he has. For right now, we got him at number 2.
And coming in at number 1, should be no surprise, he was drafted 15th overall. We have Erik Karlsson, a 3-time Norris winner. And when you think of the 2010 Senators, you think of Erik Karlsson. He really led that team. He was a top 3 player in the NHL at that point. You kind of had Crosby, you had Ovechkin, and then Karlsson was in that conversation. Everyone kind of thought he was washed up when he went to San Jose, and he proved the doubters wrong, putting in a 100-point season last year and winning his 3rd Norris. Now he's with the Penguins. We'll see if he can add to this resume, but Erik Karlsson, our top D-man from this class.
So moving on to our weekly segment, obviously last week we did the Team Canada prediction for the 2026 Olympic rosters. Haven't seen it yet, make sure you go check that out. This week we're going to hit you guys with Team USA. Obviously the program has taken huge leaps forward in previous years. They have so many young guys, even older guys. They've got such skill over in the US program right now. We'll do the forwards first. These top six guys, I'm not necessarily making lines right now, but we are just talking about the top six locks that we think. So we're going to still list them out. You know, we got Austin Matthews, obviously. We got the two brothers, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk, Clayton Keller from the Coyotes, Jack Hughes, and Jack Eichel.
Just moving on to the bottom six, this Team USA squad is going to be extremely deep. And Kenny and I debated for a while about who to put as these last six forwards, but we finally settled on Matthew Boldy of the Wild. We got Jason Robertson, Kyle Connor, Alex DeBrincat, Tage Thompson, and then JT Miller as the bottom six.
Lots of depth there. Some honorable mentions for guys who were just missing out. Obviously, we could see them squeak in, but we got guys like Johnny Gaudreau, Trevor Zegras, Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh, even guys like Matty Beniers, Cole Caulfield. If they can develop right, they can easily fit into that top 12. And then Dylan Larkin.
So yeah, just moving on to the D-man, we do think the D is a little more easy to predict. There are some guys on the outside looking in, but for now, our top four is going to be Charlie McAvoy, Jacob Slavin, Zach Werenski, and Adam Fox.
And on to the next. We're going to take 7 here, so on to the next 3. Even these guys are locks. We're not even talking about, certainly any debates here, but we've got the two Hughes brothers. How cool of a pairing would that be? Luke and Quinn. And then Jake Sanderson is the 7th guy. We think we can definitely make that roster. A couple honorable mentions. We got Cam York coming out of Philadelphia. If he does take a few extra steps forward, I think maybe he could squeak in there. And we got John Carlson. If they do want more of experienced guys coming in, obviously he's got a lot of years on him, and maybe he could squeak into that roster.
So yeah, just moving on to the goalies, and this is really where Team USA has a big advantage over Canada is their goalies. Their goalies are extremely deep. So our starter, we decided it would be Jake Ottinger of the Dallas Stars.
As a backup, could go either way, but we do have Connor Hellebuck, and then Thatcher Demko is the number 3. And then, even going further than that, John Gibson's still out there. He could easily make it to, the 3rd string or even the backup spot. But like you said, this is, I think, really where they take advantage over a team like Canada. And even the defense, I think they do take the advantage over Team Canada as well. But very deep roster, lots of skill, lots of experience. It would be a failure if they do not come out with the gold.
No, absolutely. They could very easily end up being the favorites heading into the 2026 Olympics to bring home gold. All right, guys, and as always, we will be ending with some trivia. So, Kenny, my first one for you is going to be a guess the player, 3 hints. So, first hint is he has played for 2 teams in his career and both in the same conference, but I won't tell you which conference yet. His career high in goals is 27. And he currently wears a letter for the team he plays on.
My God.
I know this one's a little hard, but there's hints I can give you. Looking at it, this is a little hard, so I could just give you the conference right away if you want. The Eastern Conference. So, Similar to the Jeff Skinner one from a few weeks ago, he's in the East, it's one team from each division. All right, I feel kind of bad. This one is actually insanely hard. I will say he currently plays in the Atlantic. Final hint I'm going to give you. You've gone over his team.
I've gone over his team already?
Yeah.
Who did I go? I went over Buffalo and Detroit in the last minute. 27 goals. Kyle Okposo. Oh, is it Kyle Okposo?
It is Kyle Okposo. I'm sorry, that one was hard.
It took so long.
You got there, but yeah, I don't think the hints were very helpful. So good on you to get it. Didn't want to say he was a current captain because I think that would have made it a bit too easy, but got there in the end.
All right, I'll give you a 3-hint guess the player.
Sure, the classic.
First hint, he was an original draft pick by the Dallas Stars. His highest goal total in a season is 36. And that flurry of 2016 free agencies where all those bad contracts were signed, he was one of them.
Oof. Okay. I'm going to lock it in nice and early here. This one hurts for Canucks fans, but we're going to lock in Louis Eriksson.
That is correct. That was quick.
It's a brutal guess the player. You didn't have to do me like that. Oh. All right, Kenny. So, my next question for you is can you name the top 10 highest paid players in the league for the 2023-2024 season? So, I will say now, there are some numbers that are tied, so I'll accept either player for those. So, there are more than 10 options here. If you.
Okay.
So, whenever you're ready. 3 lives, by the way. 3 lives.
Okay. I think it kicks in, but I'll go with Nathan McKinnon.
Yep, McKinnon in the 1.
Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid in the 2.
Go Austin Matthews.
Austin Matthews in the 4.
Temi Panarin.
Panarin in the 3.
Erik Karlsson.
Erik Karlsson in the 5. He's 5 for 5. There we go.
Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty, one of the 2 options in the 7.
Okay. No, John Tavares.
John Tavares is the other 11 mil option at 7.
Okay. Oh, so there's someone between 11 and then
Karlsson at 11.5. Yeah.
11.5. But I think he was a UFA after last, so I'm going to David Pastrnak.
David Pastrnak in the 6, getting paid 11.25.
So I need 2 more players?
3. So you have 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
There's 2 options in the 9 and 4 in the 10.
Let's go with Mitch Marner. Did I say Mitch Marner already?
Mitch Marner in the 8, getting paid 10.9.
Okay.
He's 8 for 8.
A 10-5 must be there. Can I say Carey Price? Does that count?
Carey Price is one of the 2 players in the 9.
Okay.
There, you can have it.
Okay. You know what? I got 3 lives. We'll just go with a 10. We'll go with Sergei Bobrovsky.
Sergei Bobrovsky is correct in the top 10. There you go. 10 for 10. Little bonus action. So you name Price for 10.5. And there's 3 other players that make 10 million. Can you name them?
10 million.
10 million.
Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel is one of them. 2 more.
Alexander Barkov.
Barkov's another. 1 left. The guy in the 10 making 10 mil has a teammate on this list.
Leon Draisaitl. No, he does not. No, he does not. Darnell Nurse does not make 10. Anze Kopitar.
Anze Kopitar makes $10 million. So you got 1 guy left. Been perfect so far.
10-5?
He makes 10.5. I'll say recently inked as well. Like recently in the past couple of seasons.
Jonathan Huberdeau.
Jonathan Huberdeau is correct, making
go.
10.5. There he goes. He goes 10 for 10 and gets the bonus ones. Kenny, you were dialed in today. Oof.
We're going to go with the last 10 cover players.
Ooh, last 10
Not-
cover athletes.
Not necessarily different. They could be the same players.
Okay.
But we'll go like yearly
Sure.
for 10, yeah.
So, this year we have Cale Makar, 2024.
Yep.
NHL 23 was Trevor Zegras and Sarah Nurse.
There you go.
NHL 22. Okay, we'll knock out the easy one. NHL. Oh no. 22 was Austin Matthews.
That's 3 for 3.
Okay. 2019 was PK Subban. Okay. See, I want to say Stammer's in there, but he might have been like 12.
To put your mind at ease, Stammer was exactly 12.
Okay. There we
No
go.
bonus points though.
McDavid's in there in 20. McDavid was 20. Wait,
McDavid's in there.
McDavid's in there. He's 19, isn't he? I said Austin Matthews or no?
You said him once.
He's in there twice. I don't know what years.
He's in there twice. Yeah.
Oh, this might be past it. I'll say it anyways. Jonathan Taves.
Jonathan Taves of 2016,
Okay.
but it's still in between the Matthews.
Is it Ovi?
It is Obi.
Okay. 15, 14. I'm just going to throw him out there. Claude Giroux.
Drew's in the 13.
Okay. Oh, it's Vladimir Tarasenko
It is
in
like
2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bruins is the other. Oh, it's Patrice Bergeron.
It's pretty
Wow. Took a while to get there. Jesus. All right, Kenny. So, got one more for you here today, and you get to show off the draft knowledge a little bit. And for those of you who don't know, when the draft was in Vancouver in 2019, Kenny was actually in attendance. So, test that knowledge from that draft. Can you name the top 10 point getters so far from the 2019 draft class?
Both Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes in the 1.
Skip Kako for now. Skip Doc for now. Skip Byram. Skip Turcott. Skip Sider. Dylan Cousins.
Dylan Cousins in the 3.
Okay. We'll go Trevor Zegers.
Trevor Zegers in the 2.
Colson will skip. Soderstrom will skip. Matt Boldy. We'll definitely take Matt Boldy.
Matt Boldy in the 4. There you go.
I can't think of anyone else. We'll just go Cole Caulfield.
Cole Caulfield in the 8.
Did I say Cole Caulfield? I did. I'll
You
say
did.
Alex Newhook.
Alex Newhook in the 9.
Okay. We'll go Capo Caco.
Capo Caco in the 5.
We'll go Kirby Doc.
Kirby Doc in the 7.
We'll go Bowen Barnum.
Bowen Byram is incorrect.
We'll go Sider.
Mo Sider in the 6 with 100 points.
Okay.
So now just in the 10, 2 guys tied for 59. And then there's 1 guy with 58. I would accept any of the 3.
Are any of them in the first round?
No.
We'll go optimistic and we'll go Niels Hoglander.
Niels Hoglander is the player with 58 points.
They take
So,
that?
I can take that. You can get the last 2. They were drafted by LA and Arizona.
Is it Kalia?
It is Arthur Kaliev, 59 points.
And then Machelli?
It is Matthias Machelli with
Okay.
59 points.
I
There you
didn't
go.
know
Shows off the draft knowledge. Gets the top 10.
that. Okay.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out our Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. All of it's live now, like we said last week. Kenny, any words?
No, just thanks for watching. Make sure to comment down below if you guys want to see anything at all. You know, we read all the comments and we really appreciate any feedback.
Absolutely, guys. Until next week, take care.
Up and you won't hear a sound. I got 1,000 gunmen turning up, but they will gun you down. Oh, you know she wild inside emoji, oh, you got a frown.